It is 2 a.m. in New York, 7 in London, and 4 on a Friday afternoon here in Seoul. I'm Geunhye. This is ARIRANG, Korea's only global network. Now, preparations for the upcoming family reunions for those separated since the Korean War are underway, with a team of South Korean engineers departing for the reunion site earlier this Friday morning. But there is really no guarantee that there will be no hiccups before the reunion event, currently slated for the third week of February. ARIRANG News Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Sung-hee starts us off.
With less than 2 weeks left until the reunions for families separated since the Korean War, 64 South Korean officials crossed the border on Friday morning to check the facilities at the reunion site in the north. The engineers will make sure that the electricity and communication lines at the Mount Kumgang resort are up and running well in time for the reunions. Late Thursday night, the two Koreas confirmed that 85 South Koreans and 94 North Koreans will take part in the event. South Korea's Unification Ministry explained that some family members selected last year are unable to make the trip this time, as they have passed away or have fallen sick. Millions of Koreans were separated from their families during the Korean War more than 6 decades ago. Around 70,000 South Koreans, most of whom are now in their 80s, are on a waiting list to see their loved ones one last time. But will the reunions take place from February 20th to the 25th as planned? Just a day after the Koreas agreed to resume the reunions, North Korea called on the South to halt an upcoming annual military drill with the United States and threatened to reconsider the agreement. The reunion dates coincide with Seoul and Washington's Key Resolve exercises, which begin in the last week of February every year. South Korea said that the annual military exercises are purely defensive in nature and reiterated that it would deal with the North's objections to the drills separately from the family reunions. North Korea has a history of pulling the plug on such meetings in the past. Just last September, Pyongyang canceled a round of family reunions just 4 days before the event, disappointing hundreds of people on both sides of the border. If held, it would have been the first reunion event since 2010. Hwang Sung-hee, ARIRANG News.
Meanwhile, President Park Geun-hye has urged North Korea not to cause any more sorrow to the families separated by the Korean War by canceling an upcoming round of reunions. Now, speaking at the presidential office of Cheongwade this Friday morning, the president said she was delighted that the North had accepted Seoul's proposal to resume the reunions, but warned that the North could cancel the event or change the schedule abruptly, using the Seoul-Washington's joint military drills as an excuse. Now, the Korean leader emphasized that obstacles have appeared whenever there have been good signs in inter-Korean relations in the past, and said the South should remain on full alert for any possible provocations from the North. The family of Kenneth Baes, the Korean-American who has been detained in North Korea for over a year now, may feel a little more comfort after U.S. President Barack Obama, for the first time, has made a public call for his release. Shin Se-min reports.
U.S. President Barack Obama offered a prayer Thursday for the quick and safe release of detained Korean-American Kenneth Baes. Speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast, an annual gathering of lawmakers and numerous faith leaders, Obama said Baes, a Christian missionary sentenced to 15 years of hard labor in North Korea, should be set free, and the U.S. will do everything it can to help him.
His family wants him home, and the United States will continue to do everything in our power to secure his release, because Kenneth Baes deserves to be free.
Washington has already offered to send a special envoy to North Korea to secure Baes' release, but Pyongyang hasn't mustered up a response. It was the first time Obama has mentioned Kenneth Baes, and a strong sign the State Department is taking the matter seriously. Baes was arrested in North Korea in November 2012 when he was working in the country as a tourist guide. The North charged him with crimes against the state and attempting to overthrow the regime. At the gathering, Obama also said China should do more to recognize the freedom of religion, calling it essential to the country's national security.
When I meet with Chinese leaders, and we do a lot of business with the Chinese, but I stress that realizing China's potential rests on upholding universal rights, including for Christians and Tibetan Buddhists and Uyghur Muslims.
Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
Now, recent satellite images indicate North Korea is nearly done upgrading its main rocket launch pad and could complete construction by next month or April. Citing an image on its website, 38 North, the U.S.-Korea Institute at Johns Hopkins University says an 11th level has been added to the launch pad in Dongchangni at the northwest coast Seohae launch site. The modification will allow a long-range rocket of up to 50 meters in length to be accommodated, which is larger than the 30-meter Geunhye-3 rocket that was launched by the North in 2012. The institute said the Geunhye-9, a slightly larger model, could be launched once construction is done, but that it will take the North years to build much bigger rockets. Meanwhile, some positive news out of the U.S. The lower house in the U.S. state of Virginia has passed a bill requiring new school textbooks in the state to use both the Korean name East Sea and the Japanese name Sea of Japan for the body of water between the two countries. The state governor's signature is now all the bill needs to take effect as law. Our Hwang Sung-hee has this report.
Starting with the next school year, students in the U.S. state of Virginia will very likely learn that the body of water between Korea and Japan is known not only by the Japanese name Sea of Japan, but also by the Korean name East Sea. The Virginia House of Delegates passed a bill by a wide margin of 81 to 15 on Thursday, requiring that the state education board only approve textbooks that use both names. Virginia House District Delegate Mark Kim explained what the bill means for Koreans.
When they opened up the textbooks of their children and they saw that a map that reminds them of their oppression, that reminds them of the invasion, that reminds them of that body of water that was crossed by the Japanese to come and annex that nation for 35 years.
The State House and the Senate, which approved a similar bill late last month, will now send the bill to Governor Terry McAuliffe for him to sign it into law. During his election campaign last year, the governor spoke in favor of the Korean view and has indicated he will sign on the dotted line. The bill will produce a seemingly minor change in school texts, but the Korean government and the large Korean American community in Virginia are hailing the revision as they consider the Japanese name to be a legacy of Japan's imperialistic past. Japan had threatened to suspend investment in Virginia if the state legislature approves the bill.
We have to celebrate the passage of the bill and be proud of our 150,000 Korean Americans that led the victory.
This is the first time such a bill has been passed by a state legislature in the United States. The bill also goes against the State Department's policy of only using one name, in this case the Sea of Japan, largely for the sake of clarity. Korean media outlets are reporting that the bill's passage will give the Korean American community a stronger voice. Hwang Sung-hee, ARIRANG News.
And within hours of the bill's passage, the South Korean government said it welcomed the move by the Virginia House of Delegates, adding that the government thought highly of all the efforts made to bring about this change. Now, you may remember Korea's tech giant Samsung sealing a deal with Google on patents. Well, the electronic giant has inked another patent cross-licensing deal, this time with Cisco Systems, a worldwide leader in networking. This in a bid by both tech firms to minimize legal disputes and focus on innovation. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Korean tech giant Samsung Electronics has signed a 10-year patent cross-licensing deal with Cisco Systems. The deal comes days after similar agreements between Samsung and Google and another between Cisco and Google. The deals are expected to give the firms more room to innovate without worrying about legal disputes over intellectual property. Samsung went to court 38 times last year for patent disputes, and its legal battle with Apple that spans more than 10 countries is dragging into its third year. Samsung has one of the largest numbers of patents in the world with around 100,000, while Cisco has around 9,700 and Google 50,000. Local media outlets in Korea say Samsung's recent cross-licensing deal will give Samsung and Cisco time to prepare for the latest trend in the tech world, the Internet of Things, in which products ranging from cars to household goods are connected to the Internet or electronic devices. Cisco is one of the leading companies in the Internet of Things. John Chambers, Cisco's chairman and CEO, said last month during his keynote at the Consumer Electronics Show, the Internet of Everything will forever change our daily lives. For businesses, Chambers said it would be a $19 trillion opportunity. Kim Ji-yeon, ARIRANG News.
Well, Korea's shipbuilding industry got off to a smooth start this year, logging the most global orders in January. London-based Clarkson Research Services said Friday that Korean shipbuilders won orders totaling 1.68 million compensated gross tons last month, a jump of more than 115% from the same period last year. The figure represents more than 45% of the total global shipbuilding market. Now, Chinese shipbuilders won the second highest volume of orders at 1.25 million CGTs, or 34% of the global total. The pickup is attributed to Korean shipbuilding companies winning more contracts for larger, more expensive ships, such as container vessels and LNG-fueled ships. Well, an interesting situation is unfolding at the social networking giant Twitter. Billions of dollars were wiped off Twitter's value on Thursday after the company reported a sharp slowdown in user growth. Shares dropped 24% to roughly $50 in after-hours trading after it reported its monthly active user count was 241 million, up only 9 million from the previous quarter. The company's shares peaked at almost $75 in December last year when some analysts forecast Twitter could become as big as Facebook. Well, Twitter's revenue was not a disappointment, however, coming in at $243 million, up 116% on year. Twitter reported a net loss of over $500 million. Meanwhile, on the local bourse, Seoul shares inched higher on this Friday as U.S. data eased worries about the world's largest economy. However, a batch of worse-than-expected corporate earnings results limited that rise. At the closing bell, the benchmark Kospi was up by a whopping 0.8% to close the day and the week at 1922.5, while the tech-heavy Kosdaq was also up by 0.9%. Now, on the foreign exchange counter, the Korean currency closed stronger against the greenback at roughly 1,074 won. Now, in the midst of the global financial turmoil, it's been said that Korea is one of the best positioned markets, considering its strong economic fundamentals. Yet, we have still seen a large amount of money flowing out almost every time there is trouble elsewhere. So, what is going on? For a closer look, we have Dr. Kim Byung-ju, the head of KLMP Consulting and our regular commentator on this program, live on the line. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Kim.
Good afternoon.
So tell us, what is it about the Korean market that just keeps seeing money flowing out every time something happens from the outside world?
The thing is, most of the global investors, including the global financial institutions, they manage what's called portfolio. And in portfolio, they have different ratios through which they invest in each country. And Korea is one of the largest emerging markets in their portfolios. So what happens is when they decide to pull money out of emerging markets, the relative size of Korean market within their portfolio, because it's big, when they pull out the money, a lot of money flows out of Korean market. That's what's basically happening. For instance, from the beginning of the year until yesterday, for instance, in total of 2.6 trillion won amount of capital flew out of Korea. And compare that with about 160 billion won, which is much smaller, that flew out of India. We know India has been in much stronger trouble, and Korea was not classified as an economy that had been in trouble. But still, tremendous amount more money actually flew out of Korea, and that's all because of the ratio that has been assigned to Korea in the portfolio of these, the financial managers around the world. And that portfolio ratio is usually based on the leading index, such as MSCI index. MSCI index is used about 70 of the portfolios around the world. So because within MSCI, Korea is classified as one of the emerging economies, Korea experiences that kind of a dramatic capital outflow in comparison with other emerging countries.
So according to the MSCI, Korea is an emerging economy, but with other things, even Koreans are confused whether the economy is, even an already advanced one or still an emerging one. On this issue, how certain can we be that Korea is an advanced market?
Actually, most of the data and information seem to indicate Korea should have been classified as one of the advanced economies or advanced markets rather than emerging market. If we can take a look at those information on the screen here, basically, if we take a look at the number of listed companies in Korea, in Korean stock market, it's like 1,800 companies, more than that, and that's about the world's 9th largest in terms of number of companies listed. And market capitalization here in Korea over 1 trillion Korean won. That makes Korea world's 13th largest. And daily transaction in the stock market itself is close to 6 trillion won on average, and that's the world's 11th largest. So indeed, Korea is one of the largest markets around the world, which makes Korea as should make Korea one of the advanced markets. And then let's take a look at the MSCI market classification. There, what you see is Korea being classified, as we know, one of the emerging markets. But in advanced markets, you see countries like Ireland, Israel, Portugal. There could be a question whether when these countries are classified as advanced markets, why not Korea? And obviously, we can ask that question. So basically, we've been waiting for the MSCI to reclassify Korea as one of the advanced markets, but that has not been happening. And as a result of that, we're experiencing this kind of consequence.
Right. I don't know how up to date that MSCI market classification is, but seems like it's definitely questionable whether Portugal, for one, is an advanced market at this point.
Right.
But however, Dr. Kim, in the past, some analysts have said that it's maybe actually a good thing that MSCI classifies Korea as an emerging market.
Indeed, there has been such argument, and that's important to recognize that because when Korea is classified one of the emerging markets, Korea takes up about 16 to 20% of portfolio in the emerging market class, and that gives Korea a lot of importance. That means, global investors around the world most of them will have to buy Korean stocks. But if Korea's status is reclassified as one of the advanced economies, Korea will be classified somewhere lower in the ladder and accounting for about 1 to 2% of their advanced market portfolio. So Korea's importance will be reduced, and that's what a lot of people have been concerned about and saying perhaps it's a better idea to remain within the emerging market category. So that debate has not been settled.
Now, as for the key reason why MSCI is keeping Korea in the emerging market group, what would that be?
The key reason for MSCI's inaction is Korea's won currency status. Korean currency won is not being used as one of the internationalized currencies yet. It's not entirely free for world investors to buy and sell Korea's currency. Korean currency market, for instance, closes at 3 p.m. here, and there is virtually nowhere you can actually trade Korean currency elsewhere around the world. That means a lacking of the internationalization of the currency, and MSC has been raising a question about that, and that has been an issue in the minds of MSCI.
So can Korea take action on that and have itself classified as an advanced market?
The thing is, after rounds of this financial crisis around the world back in 1997 and 2008, the thing is, Korea has been pushing forward to the direction of internationalizing Korean currency. But the thing is, after rounds of this financial crisis, there has been doubts growing in Korea saying whether we really have to pursue that or not. So consensus now in Korea seems to be that let's not pursue the internationalization of Korean currency all the way, which will increase market volatility. So let's not do that. And instead, they are saying, let's persuade the MSCI executives and the people who have decision-making power, that Korea deserves the the advanced market status without having to necessarily internationalizing Korean currency. That's current status at this point.
All right, Dr. Kim Byung-ji, the head of KLMP Consulting and our regular commentator on this program, thank you so much for speaking with us this afternoon, and we will see you right back here in the studio on Monday.
Okay, will do.
With rapid changes in the global economy, up-to-date business and financial news has never been more essential. See what's making markets tick around the globe. We speak to the experts and cover the biggest financial stories.
North Korea provocation.
Quite good. We received a lot of positive feedback, especially from those abroad.
Ssangyong Motor, Korea's fourth largest automaker, may have to reinstate more than 150 workers who were laid off 5 years ago after a court here ruled that their dismissal was invalid. The Seoul High Court on Friday ruled in favor of the 153 workers, overturning an earlier ruling after they filed a suit saying that their dismissal by the company in 2009 was unreasonable because the auto company had overstated its losses, among other things. The auto company plans to appeal the case, and in 2009, the company fired about 2,600 workers after it was put under court receivership following the 2008 global financial crisis. Now, of them, about 460 took leaves of absence without pay, while about 1,900 workers chose to retire and about 160 were dismissed. When Typhoon Haiyan swept through the Philippines last year, killing more than 6,000 people and leaving millions more displaced, the Korean government wasted no time lending a helping hand. Hundreds of engineers and military personnel from Korea were dispatched to the hardest hit areas, and their mission continues to this day. Our Kim Hyun-bin follows us this report from Tacloban.
The Philippines were slammed by one of the deadliest storms in recent history, Typhoon Haiyan. In November of last year, the storm destroyed practically everything in its path and killed thousands of people. 3 months have passed since that terrible day, but ships remain eerily abandoned on land, and thousands of homes that once made a thriving community sit empty and uninhabitable. But as the saying goes, through darkness comes light, and through fear comes hope. And a military unit from Korea is working day and night to help this region and its residents get back to something approaching normality. Scores of Korean military engineers and medics are based here in Tacloban, a city decimated by Haiyan, under the mission code name Operation Aral Angels. Their goal is to rebuild basic infrastructure, no easy task in an area akin to a post-apocalyptic nightmare. The Aral unit was sent to help people in desperate need, but also to repay an old debt.
We came here to pay back for the sacrifices made by the Philippine troops that fought and shed blood for our freedom during the Korean War.
Despite the sheer scale of the task ahead, it's unfortunate that this team are the only foreign troops lending a hand in the area at this time.
Many forces came for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then left. But the commitment of the government of the Republic of Korea for 1 year is really unprecedented, and everybody in the world is going to look towards this involvement as a model case for the future.
From schools to hospitals, Korean and Filipino engineers are working in sync, and it seems there is nothing they can't fix. But these are just the first steps. The people of the city have expressed high hopes about what this unit can achieve over the duration of their assignment here. This newly rebuilt elementary school was the work of the Aral unit. By the year's end, the unit plans to build 50 schools in this area. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News, Pelosa.
Let's now turn to our Michelle Park at the Weather Center for the latest forecast. Michelle, the 2014 Winter Olympics are getting underway soon, and the athletes in Sochi are hoping for nice weather, I believe. So what is the weather like there?
Well, the average weather during the Sochi Games is expected to be precipitation-free much of the times and with near to above normal temperatures.
Well, I suppose that's good news for the snowboarders and the cross-country skiers competing in tomorrow's race, right?
That's right, and I wish them all the best. Now for the weather in Korea, the warm weather continues here in Seoul, but we are expecting a nationwide rain or even snow tomorrow. Now for more details, let's move over to our satellite map. As you can see, it's generally cloudy all over the nation, but we can expect a nice warm day. Now going over to the readings, the temperatures are constantly rising. Temperatures of Seoul tops out at 7 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan will peak to 7 and 6 degrees respectively. Down onto Jeju Island, it's going to be a gloomy day. Dokdo Island gets up to 0, while Mount Kumgang tops out at -6. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and back to you, Geunhye.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for that. And that brings us to the end of this newscast. But stay tuned to ARIRANG. We have a lot more coming your way on Early Edition at 6.